Hi guys, it's me Arden Lee, and today's video is brought to you by another member of the Repatterning Parlor who asked a great question. And the question they asked is, how can you find the core wound or the first incident that caused a pattern or a belief in your life to form? And a lot of the exercises, like for example with timeline therapy, that people do, essentially you're guided to sit with it and trust that your body will come up with that first moment, and that you'll be able to find that answer by sitting in that stillness and waiting for the answer to be delivered by your body. And I will say that oftentimes this does work. This certainly, when I've practiced timeline therapy before, whether on myself, having it facilitated for me, or me facilitating it for others, with enough time and stillness and waiting for that resonance, I do believe that the memory will emerge. I've never been able to not find that piece that feels like the right thing. And sometimes it's not right away. Sometimes you might start working with one memory and then you kind of feel into it and you feel, oh, there's something deeper here. There's something before. And lately I've even been toying with the idea that maybe it's even something after. We usually we want to go to that first incident where that pattern was formed. But what I'm starting to see in more and more of my work with my clients is that sometimes a greater incident that reinforces the original pattern can even be more powerful than the original one itself. I'll just give an example. I'll just make something up. Let's say that there's an incident when you're 4 years old, right? Which is usually like pretty young is when that pattern first tends to set. And maybe there's an incident that happens that installs this idea that I don't know, we'll just pick a popular one, that men can't be trusted, right? You're 4 years old and, your dad loses you at the carnival. That one was mine, right? Oh no, I'm not safe being protected by men. But the funny thing is that there was part of me in my heart that wanted so badly to not believe that pattern, that there were actually times in the future, there were incidents that came up that were actually even more detrimental because they reinforced that original belief or pattern that I was sort of fighting against getting that deeply anchored, right? When you're like, no, I'm still going to have hope. Things are okay. And then, you get stood up by a boy when you're 16, right? Or whatever, that someone chooses to, you put your heart out there, and then someone just completely stands you up, right? I thought I could trust you. I put my trust in you to be accountable and responsible to your commitments, and you completely ghosted, right? Sometimes that later incident can even be more profound and more entangled with that pattern than the one at 4 years old, because of how heartbreaking it was to have that reinforced when you had the hope that it wouldn't be. You were like, let me try this again. Maybe it won't be the same way as it was before. And then, oh no, it is the same way. My greatest fears are confirmed, and therefore it's lodged even more deeply now than it was before. Because time is quantum, you guys. So I'm starting to toy with that idea myself, that yes, there is a lot of really important stuff to look at around, age 0 through 4, when things really get set at that young age. But sometimes our souls will fight against that pattern or leave room for things to be different until it's confirmed too many times. Just something interesting to think about. My overall answer to this question is to invest in a facilitator. And I know I am a facilitator, so that sounds really like pat for me to say. But the reason that those of us who do this work are hopefully so good at what we do is because we have some of the objectivity necessary to feel where the resonance is. And when I work with my clients who are having a hard time coming up with that memory, with that place, we dig and we dig until we feel that zing, until we feel that, the ground drops out a little bit, more space is created, something got released, right? One of the things that is taught in neurolinguistic programming certification and in timeline therapy certification, for a practitioner to really understand that their work has hit, is to go back and test the original trigger and say, are you still feeling the same way about this thing? Or do you feel different now? Do you feel lighter? Do you feel like something has moved? Tears of catharsis are a great sign that something has been found and been effective. Just that breath, right? That, whew, you can hear it in someone. I can feel when the energetic has shifted. I've actually gotten to the point where I can feel where the energetic has shifted. If it's someone that I'm close with, someone whose energy I'm connected to, I can feel it happen over a text message. It's great. I'll be texting them, holding them through their own process, and I'll be like, wow, yeah, you just moved a lot. I felt that all the way over here. It's wonderful. And that's why doing this work with a facilitator is such a powerful investment for yourself. Now, I do like to empower people, and I put lots of free content out here precisely for the reason that if someone doesn't feel that they have the wherewithal, the resources at this moment to invest in working with a facilitator, then there's lots of free content for people at least to get started, right? Get the groundwork kind of underway. Change and manifest enough on your own with your self-study or with a more affordable group study program that you can start sourcing those resources to be able to work at higher and higher and more committed levels, right? It's about expanding our bandwidth. So certainly there's a lot to be said for doing a self-study on your own, even if it takes, that's basically a choice to say, I'm gonna have more time and effort from my own part put in rather than having a coach or facilitator, because right now I have more time than I do money to invest. That's fine. You'll get to a point, hopefully, in your process that your time will be more valuable than your money, because you'll learn how to start creating more and more abundance for yourself. And at some point you'll think, all right, to sort the rest of this out, it's better for me, just the same way that you get to a point where it's better for yourself and the way you're running your life and your business to hire a housekeeper than it is to clean your house on your own, right? Well, you'll get to a point where you'll feel that kind of difference. So I put that out there to say that I don't just say like invest in a facilitator lightly. And one of the other things that I do that I think I am fairly unique on when it comes to timeline therapy practitioners is I start out my private clients who work with me one-on-one. If they've done the group course and they've learned that material, and then they want to come and work with me for one-on-one facilitation, what I do is I start off with a 2-hour-long timeline analysis session. And what that is essentially we go through all the incidents that really stand out to them that happen between them and their major caregivers and or important teachers, peers, friends, and authorities. And I use my abilities to zoom out and synthesize the information that they're giving me to see the overall patterns. And what I'll do is I'll make a recommendation at the end of that session. And I'll say, okay, here's what I'm seeing happen. Here's where all of these patterns and all these wires got crossed. These are all the things that you learned during this time. After this, nearly 2 hours of them going through all of these important formative incidents in their lives. And then I will recommend, I'll say, I'm going to tell you the 3 moments on your timeline that you've named to me today that feel like they are the most potent or the most powerful for us to go back in and rewire during your timeline therapy sessions. And I'll make that recommendation, but of course, I'll always tell my client ultimately it's what resonates most with you. So if I say something, I say, this one feels really important to me. And they're like, oh, I don't know about that one. I think this one feels stronger. Then, of course, we're going to go with what they feel. But I will say that almost every single time that I've done these sessions, I end up picking the 3 that the client also resonates with. I can't recall a time where I've had someone say, no, I don't think that's the right one. Almost every time, to my recollection, they'll say, yeah, no, that feels right. That resonates. So being able, we invest in facilitators because they have invested time and energy and effort into cultivating skill sets that we have not. That's why I would hire a coach for whatever reason to do something that I can't do for myself, right? Even when I hire a housekeeper, they're so much better at cleaning my own house than I am because they have invested in the skill set of how to get a space clean much more than I have. So the reason we do that is precisely for their expertise. So if you're worried that you're not going to be able to find that core moment where that belief was formed, that's what you hire a second pair of eyes for. That's why you invest in a relationship where you can be seen and witnessed. And when I say seen, I mean really seen, to have your reality reflected back to you in a way that resonates, in a way that says, yes, that feels right, that moment feels right. Or even if someone reflects back something to you that doesn't resonate, right? Then that's an opportunity to say, no, that doesn't resonate, but here's why. Okay, great, that's more information. Now we can dig deeper, right? And a really good facilitator will sit in that with you and use their perceptive abilities to find that moment with you until you feel that zing, right? Until you feel that, yes, that's it. That's the thing that needs to be moved. That's the thing that needs to be shifted. I've done this for my clients and I've done this for friends as well. With consent, of course, in a container where that was the purpose and the intention of us going there. And I have seen where it very much feels like without the guidance of my facilitation, that it would be very difficult to arrive at that those conclusions on the person's own. So that's my recommendation, is if you're not sure you can find it, you invest in someone to help find it with you. Someone you trust, someone whose expertise you trust, who can get you there to that moment and will keep digging until they find that thing that shifts. Some of my sessions for timeline therapy are over in like 20 minutes. Some of them take up to 60, you know? And I generally, I leave that time, but I also tell people, I'm like, we might not need all of it. If there's stuff you want to talk about after, cool, you know? But generally, I don't measure the session by the amount of time it takes. I measure it by when do we find the thing and when do I feel the shift, right? Because ultimately it is the result that matters. And a good facilitator will stay in it with you until you find that thing that is required to make that shift. So even though sure, it would be great for every one of my videos and every one of my advice videos to end in like, well, just hire me, right? That would be great. But in this particular instance, you guys know I generally give you the keys in these videos yourselves. But for this particular question, there really is no doubt in my mind. If you can't find it on your own, that is absolutely what that second pair of eyes is for, to lend you that expertise and their skill set and perception. And it is a worthwhile investment to find a facilitator that you trust and whose expertise you trust to hold that space for you until the shift moves. And a good facilitator will stay in it with you until that result is achieved. All right? Given that everyone is doing their own homework and their own due diligence, of course. Thank you guys. And if you are interested in that kind of level of facilitation, I absolutely encourage you to reach out to me. I'm really enjoying working with clients on that level right now, where we get to see that zoomed out comprehensive view of their timeline and find, through that soul level detective work, through that analysis and synthesis, an overall pattern finding, being able to go in and hack those and rewire those at the root. That's really fun, really energizing, really rewarding work for me that I'm really enjoying lately. All right, thank you guys. I super appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.